Good evening. Global pop superstar Katy Perry is tonight at the centre of a police investigation over bombshell claims of sexual abuse inside a...
Katy Perry built an empire on being untouchable. Chart records, stadium tours, a cultural footprint that stretched across a decade. Then, in the span of 72 hours, a single Threads post unraveled 15 years of carefully managed image. Now there's a police investigation on another continent, a growing list of names, a deleted essay that contradicts itself, and a silence from Perry's camp that is somehow louder than anything her representatives have said. The scandal nobody saw coming. On the afternoon of April 15, 2026, something happened that turned a celebrity social media fight into a real criminal matter. The Melbourne Sexual Offences and Child Abuse Investigation Team, known inside Australian policing as SOSIT, released a short official statement. They said their detectives were looking into a historical sexual misconduct that happened in Melbourne in the year 2010. They said the incident took place at a licensed venue in the Central Business District. They said they could not share anything else because the investigation was ongoing. The statement did not name Katy Perry. The statement did not name Ruby Rose. But every single person reading it knew exactly who it was about. Because just 2 days earlier, Ruby Rose had posted a public accusation on Threads that set the internet on fire. And 1 day after that post, she walked into a Melbourne police station and filed a formal report. A Victoria police spokesperson named Sergeant Julia Newman spoke briefly to NBC News. She said she could not confirm the names involved because of privacy protocol. She did confirm the investigation was real. She did confirm the unit was SOSIT. And she did confirm that the incident being looked into happened in the year 2010 at a licensed venue inside Melbourne. Now here is what most people watching this story do not understand. SOSIT is not a regular police unit. It was built specifically for cases like this one. There are 28 SOSIT locations across the state of Victoria. There are around 400 specially trained officers working inside this system. Every single detective who joins the unit has to complete a 4-week training course just for sexual offense investigations. They work side by side with trauma counselors and forensic experts inside buildings called multidisciplinary centers. They record interviews using a method called VAR, which stands for Video and Audio Recorded Evidence. This system exists because Australian authorities decided years ago that sexual offence cases needed their own specialists. So when people hear that a police unit in Melbourne is investigating a pop star, they often imagine some dusty file on a forgotten shelf. That is not what is happening here. The case has been assigned to a specialist team trained in exactly this kind of work. And that team has one very big legal weapon on their side. Victoria has no statute of limitations on sexual offences. A case from 2010 can still be charged today in 2026. It can still be charged in 2040. That is the rule. It does not matter how much time has passed. If the evidence holds up, charges can still be filed. Ruby Rose has now finalized every report. She posted one last update on Threads saying she had wrapped up all her statements with the police. She said she could not comment publicly on the case anymore or talk about the individuals involved. She said it was a standard request from the police. She said it was actually a relief. She said she could finally start the healing process. Then she went quiet. That silence is telling. That silence means the machinery is now moving. To understand how we got here, we have to rewind to Sunday, April 12th. The Threads post that broke the internet on a Sunday night. That night, a music publication called Complex posted a graphic on Threads. The graphic showed Katy Perry making fun of Justin Bieber. Bieber had just headlined his first ever Coachella set the night before. During the show, he mixed in old footage of himself as a teenager from YouTube. Katy Perry had posted on her own Instagram a quick jab at the performance. She joked that thank God Bieber had YouTube Premium because she did not want to see any ads. Complex picked up the joke and made it into a post. That post is where Ruby Rose replied. And her reply was not a joke. Her reply changed everything. She wrote that Katy Perry sexually mistreated her at Spice Market nightclub in Melbourne. She wrote that no one should care what Katy Perry thought. Then she started posting more. And more. And the internet exploded. In a follow-up post, Ruby Rose laid out the specific account. She wrote that she had been lying on her best friend's lap to avoid Katy Perry. She wrote that Katy Perry bent down, pulled her underwear to the side, and rubbed her private parts on Ruby Rose's face until her eyes snapped open. She wrote that she then vomited on Katy Perry. It was graphic. It was specific. And it was public. Ruby Rose also wrote about why this was coming out now. She said she was only in her early 20s when it happened. She said she is now 40 years old. She said it had taken her almost 2 decades to say this publicly. She said that shows how much of an impact trauma takes on a person. She thanked people for seeing her. Then she made a bold move. She dared Katy Perry to sue her. She wrote that Katy Perry was more than welcome to take her to court. She said Katy Perry would not do it because the event was real. She said she had photos. She said it happened in public. She said there were multiple witnesses. There is a real hook in this Justin Bieber trigger that most people are missing. Katy Perry did not just attend Coachella as a spectator. She showed up at Weekend One with her brand new boyfriend, former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The two of them wore matching white shirts and basically confirmed their relationship to the world at the festival. Her mood that weekend was loud, playful, and very much in the public spotlight. The Bieber joke was part of that energy. Ruby Rose saw it. Ruby Rose reacted. And a post meant to mock a pop star for a streaming service punchline ended up triggering a criminal investigation on the other side of the planet. The scale of what this thread's post started is hard to process. Within 24 hours, it was the top trending story on every entertainment outlet in the English-speaking world. Within 48 hours, a representative for Katy Perry issued a statement. And that statement was not just a denial. The statement from Katy Perry's representative was short. It was sharp. And it was engineered. It said the allegations being circulated by Ruby Rose about Katy Perry were not only categorically false but also dangerous and reckless lies. It also said Ruby Rose had a well-documented history of making serious public allegations on social media against various individuals. It said those claims had repeatedly been denied by the people named. Now, most fans read that and thought it was a normal denial. It is not. If you look at the language closely, every single word is doing a job. The word lies sets up falsehood. The word reckless sets up intent. The word categorically shuts down partial interpretation. And the line about a well-documented history sets up a pattern of behavior. This is legal writing. It reads like the opening move toward a lawsuit in Australia. To understand why, you have to know something about Australian defamation law. In the United States, a public figure has to prove that the person who made a claim acted with actual malice. That is an almost impossible bar to clear. A celebrity suing in an American court almost always loses. In Australia, the rules are flipped. The person being sued has to prove their statement was true. If they cannot prove it, they lose the case automatically. That one difference changes everything. It is why Australia has quietly become a favorite courtroom for celebrities who want to push back against public accusations. Nicole Kidman has used it. Jeffrey Rush has used it and walked away with nearly $3 million. Rebel Wilson has used it and won a massive payout. Ben Roberts-Smith has used it. The Katy Perry statement reads like the opening move in that same playbook. And then came the strange part. One day after the representative released that statement, Katy Perry posted something on her own Instagram story. She did not address Ruby Rose directly. She did not deny anything herself. She did not even mention the investigation. Instead, she posted the cover of her own song called By the Grace of God from her 2013 album Prism. Over the image, she wrote the words, "I love you." No context, no caption, nothing else. Fans immediately started pulling up the lyrics of that song. One line kept showing up in screenshots. The line says, "The truth will set you free." Fans argued for hours about what Katy Perry meant by it. Some said it was a message to God. Some said it was a message to Ruby Rose. Some said it was a message to her own fans to stay loyal. Whatever it was her only personal message during the entire scandal. Every other word came through a representative. There is another piece of context that makes this moment even heavier. Katy Perry is not having a good year. Her album called 143, released in 2024, was the worst-reviewed project of her career. Her lead single flopped on the charts. She collaborated with producer Dr. Luke on that project, which set off a massive fan backlash because of his history with singer Kesha. Then she flew on Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin rocket in April of 2025, and the internet roasted her for weeks straight. She split from Orlando Bloom in July of that same year, after almost a decade together. She started dating former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau a few months later. Her world tour, called the Lifetimes Tour, is the only thing saving her year. It earned over $130 million. But her public image was already bruised before Ruby Rose posted a single word. So when her representative fired back with courtroom language, she was not just defending herself from one accusation. She was trying to stop a year of bad press from turning into a full collapse. Now, let us get into the actual venue. Because this part of the story has a twist that very few people are talking about. Spice Market was a nightclub that opened in 2009 in Melbourne. It sat in the basement of a building on Beanie Lane, right next door to the Grand Hyatt Hotel on Collins Street. The space was huge. It was designed to look like a Moroccan courtyard. It had a fountain. It had antique temple entrances. It had a capacity of about 600 people. And it had a special VIP area called the Genie Bottle. That was where the celebrities went. In August of 2010, Katy Perry was in Australia promoting her song California Girls. Her album Teenage Dream was about to drop. Earlier that same evening, Katy Perry famously crashed a Year 12 high school formal at the Grand Hyatt. She danced to Single Ladies. Somebody filmed it. TMZ picked it up. That footage is still online today. After the formal, the group walked next door to Spice Market. According to the former manager of the club, Katy Perry and Ruby Rose came in together. They were with Katy Perry's hair and makeup person. They were with a male friend of Ruby Rose. The manager called that night a security nightmare. He said 600 people were in the venue. He said Katy Perry kept running out to the main floor and dancing in the middle of the crowd. Most of their night, according to him, was spent inside the Genie Bottle VIP area. He said they were drinking. He said they were doing their own thing. He said they were drunk but not completely out of control. He said they were just like any other person drinking at a nightclub. And then he described how the night ended. He said the team at Spice Market was worried about people taking photos of the two stars in a drunk state. So they organized a car and driver to wait outside. He said they escorted both Katy Perry and Ruby Rose out the back. He said they took them up a fire exit. He said they put them in the car together. He said he believed they then went to a famous Melbourne venue called the Peel Hotel. The manager then said one specific thing that matters for the investigation. He said he was not aware of any alleged misconduct. He said he was not aware of anyone vomiting. That is a very careful sentence. It does not deny the event. It says he was not aware of it. Which is exactly the kind of statement a lawyer would tell a witness to make. And here is the twist that nobody is connecting. Spice Market closed its doors forever on January 1st, 2026. That was only 3 months before Ruby Rose posted her accusation. On the club's final night, they had a closing sale and sold off their decor pieces. They posted a farewell message on Instagram thanking fans for the memories. When Victoria Police opened their investigation 3 months later, the venue was already gone. The ownership had scattered. The staff records were likely lost. And any surveillance footage from 16 years ago was almost certainly destroyed. In 2010, Australian nightclubs kept security footage for about 30 days. After that, it was wiped. So any camera footage from August of that year has been gone for well over a decade. The only evidence left is the memory of the people who were there. Here is the part that makes this case so complicated. Because Ruby Rose has written about that night before. And her version back then was completely different. In the year 2011, Ruby Rose wrote a column for news.com.au. In that column, she described the night at Spice Market. But she did not describe it as a trauma. She described it as a funny story about falling off the wagon. She wrote that she had been sober for 30 days. She wrote that she decided to have one drink. She wrote that she did not stop at one. She wrote that she ended up vomiting on Katy Perry's foot. She wrote that she had spectacularly lost her dignity and her keys. She framed the entire night as a cautionary tale about drinking. At no point in that column did she mention any misconduct. That column resurfaced almost instantly when her Threads posts went viral. Skeptics pointed to it as proof that her current story was made up. Supporters said it proved the opposite. Ruby Rose herself addressed the gap directly on Threads. She said she had turned the story into a funny drunk story on purpose. She said she did not know how else to handle what happened. She said Katy Perry later helped her get her United States visa. She said she kept the truth a secret because of that help. That explanation matters, because it reveals a power dynamic that researchers have studied for decades. When a person accuses someone who has power over their future, they often stay silent for years, sometimes for life. The research is very clear. A 2019 study found that male survivors of childhood misconduct waited an average of 21 years before telling anyone. A broader review found that many adult survivors do not disclose their experiences until they are in their 40s or even 50s. More than 70% of survivors never disclose within 5 years of the event. But the resurface column is still going to be a problem for the case. Because in defamation law, a contemporary written account that contradicts the current story is powerful evidence. Katy Perry's legal team will hold that column up in court if this goes that far. They will argue that Ruby Rose wrote the real version back in 2011. They will argue that the current version is a rewrite. It does not legally disprove the allegation, but it does damage her credibility.